How can I be your best friend if you intentionally hurt me? That's exactly what my wife said when I walked in. It was 2 a.m. I'll never forget it. I was drunk. I think it was a red stripe night, right? But this was not a first. This was me coming in time after time after time. And when I looked at her, I'll never forget it because her, like, the tears were welling up, but it was this combination of tears plus anger plus disgust plus sadness. And when she said that, what it made me think is, like, what is a best friend? Like, what is a best friend? And I started thinking, man, a best friend, it's like, you're compassionate to your best friend. You trust your best friend. You care for your best friend. So everything I was doing to her, my wife, the person who I claimed to be my best friend, was not, right? I was not acting as a best friend would. And it was that moment that literally changed my life. That was about 5 years into our marriage. And I would say that moment changed our marriage. Now you go on, fast forward, my wife and I now have been married for 18 years, right? And straight up, it's the best time ever in our life. Conversation is good, sex is good, right? All things are good right now. And when we reflect back about why things were bad and how things became good to great, right? We came up with what we call 10 lessons. And quite honestly, we did this for the gram. We were trying to put together an Instagram post, right? I was like, we need 10 lessons. But it forced us to sit down and come up with 10 lessons. So I want to share not just the lessons with you, but I want to share the behind the scenes of those lessons. Does that work?
It works. I upgraded my phone so I could take notes.
There you go. All right. But first, everybody needs to know who's in this conversation, right? So if you could let everyone know what your name is, where you're from, and what you're most passionate about in life. And I know that's a deep question, but you two are deep thinkers, so I know you come up with a great answer.
So I'm Nina. I am from Ghana. I was born in Ghana and raised outside of D.C., Alexandria. Been in D.C. for a long time. And I'm passionate about many things, but I want to mention two. Okay. The first one is African diaspora culture. Coming from where I come from, growing up in different places, but connecting with Black people across the diaspora, I have this sense of connection, this bond about relationships and culture that resonates no matter where I am with this group of people. And it's also something that I've dug deep into, studied, and want to do more with. And so that really is in my heart. The other is leadership. I think to get anywhere, to move people, to have cultural change, to have social change, you need to be a leader. And I don't think leadership is something that is innately born in someone. I think it's developed. I think it's something that you can build through different opportunities, and opportunity is key. And so that's something that I think, to me, goes along with my passion in African diaspora culture, building leaders around the world to make changes in their society.
Love it. Love it. Uh-oh, Kwame.
Uh-oh. So I'm Kwame, and I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina, though that's always a hard question for me to answer because my dad is from Ghana, like Nina, and my mom is from Eastern North Carolina. So I like to tell folks that I have kind of I live between two worlds, and what I'm passionate about, similar to Nina, I want to see Black people around the world win, and I 1,000% believe that will only happen once we're fully connected. So Black people here in the U.S., in the Caribbean community, Europe, Asia, wherever Black people are, fully connected with Black people on the African continent, socially, politically, economically. At that point, we kind of connect our magic and things really change. So that's what I'm passionate about.
All right, love it, love it. So then let me just throw this out as a question: how important are our relationships? Right. Let's talk specifically as Black people. You know, how important is that to that utopia, Kwame, that you just laid out?
I think it's critical. I just know in my life, like specifically thinking about Black women, and the relationships I've had with Black women who are friends, my mother, romantic relationships. Like I wouldn't be where I am today, without those. And I think that there's just something. I think about like Senegal. There's this big statue where you see this family, the really strong father, carrying his wife on his back, holding his child up in front. You just see that strength and ability to move forward. I think relationships are key to making that happen.
Yeah, there you go. That reminds me of the statue in Kingston. Have you seen that? It's at I think it's Freedom Park.
Where the chains are.
Yeah, where it's actually two nude. So it's a man and a woman. It's very bold, and a lot of Jamaicans actually protested against it. But it's basically illustrating strength, raw strength, and not only strength as an individual, but strength as a union. Right? It's very very powerful. Very powerful. All right, so let's jump into this. Okay, so some of these you may disagree with, some of these you may agree with, some of these you may have had experiences with. And if you have any thoughts, just jump on in, okay? So right out the gate, the first one that my wife and I put together is we said, the best time to work on your marriage is before you get married. You have to know your boundaries and beliefs and look for someone who shares the same and doesn't have to change or change you in order to fit, right? And just to break that down, so I see heads nodding, so I think we got some agreement on this. But to break this down, when I thought about this, is I thought, okay, first you have to know your boundaries. What I've realized with boundaries is I always look at boundaries like when you're on a plane, and like you're in coach. All right, now we've got somebody in the room who's probably never flown coach in his life back here. We'll talk to you later, but when you're in coach, there's not a lot of space. You know what I'm saying? And you know how you have that armrest, and immediately there's a fight for the armrest. Yes. And what I've noticed is that if you don't claim the armrest, the person next to you will claim the armrest, and they'll assume that is theirs.
Yeah.
But half of that is yours.
That's
right.
Me.
Are you just walking in?
That's me. I claim everything first.
This whole thing
I'm
is
too
mine.
small to be waiting. People walk all over me.
But see, that's exactly what I'm saying. In a relationship, you have to know your boundaries, because I truly believe that you'll turn folks into a bully, right? If you don't. So you have to know your boundaries. Secondly is you have to know your beliefs. And beliefs, in essence, I look at those as values. I believe a values exercise is one of the most important exercises we could do, period. Because if you don't know what you live for, then you don't know what you don't, right? You don't know what you would accept or what you would not accept. And so values is incredibly important. And then this last one here, as far as you have to look for someone who shares the same and will not try to change you in order to fit. That's one that I don't want to start breaking things down into what women do wrong and what men do wrong. But I'm going to tell you, 10 years in the matchmaking game, and I'm going to say that more than half of the women who came in as clients, the assumption was, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to find me a good Honda Accord. Okay? I'm going to find a good Honda Accord, and then I'm going to start to work on the engine a little bit. I'm going to start to work on the rims a little bit, and I'm going to turn it into a Bentley.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, you can't change a Honda Accord. You can't turn a Honda Accord into a Bentley.
This ain't West Coast Customs.
right? Unless. So it's one of these where you have to already, you meet that person. You're going to meet that person on their best accord. That's you're not looking to fall in love with potential. You're looking to fall in love with the person who's in front of you. What do we think, guys?
This resonates so much with me because I'm in a relationship now, and the process to get there was like a lot of this. And I remember when you posted these 10 keys, I was eating them up because, I had to, before I felt even comfortable approaching this lady, like I felt like I needed to get myself in position to be able to kind of be a good partner for her, like making sure I was the type of person who was consistent, kept my word. And so when we got to the point where I could approach her and like we have a discussion, like I knew who I was, like I knew, what I was willing to do, what I wasn't willing to do. And that really just eased the process of getting to that point of saying, yeah, we're in a relationship.
I totally agree, but I feel like the best time to work on a marriage is before a marriage, right? But then there are times I think in relationships I've seen and friends and others where when they say when they got married, things are different, right? Mm-hmm. So the values you have, everything, they're questioning everything that they thought that they knew about this person because they're learning more about this sort of commitment that they've made, especially probably in the first year. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, I'm not married, so I'm like kind of scared. Like, people are going to change that fast. Like, you just got married. What is going on? And so it makes it seem like, yes, you're doing the self-work. Mm-hmm. You're trying to connect with someone with shared values. But then you cross this moment in time changes something. Yeah. What is that something? And then what needs to be done in that process or before, actually, to recognize that the moment happened in the relationship that's pivotal, but how do you carry it forward for 18 years? And what is that pre-work that needs to be done before that marriage, you know?
Right. So this is brilliant, but it makes me curious about something that Kwame just said. Is you said that you had to get ready or get right, basically put yourself in a better situation, evolve really as a man before engaging with this woman that you're in a relationship with. Did you do that for you before you met her, or did you do that for her after you met her?
It was very much for me. I mean, I had come across her before. So I guess for more context, like I'm previously married, so like I had all of these lessons in terms of like not what can happen when you don't prepare before marriage. And like I was in a place where I just wasn't happy. I was sad all the time. Like felt like I wasn't living up to my best potential. And one of the areas that was manifesting itself was in terms of relationships. So it was very much for me. Yeah.
So there you go. So that would be my answer. Right. And I was hoping, I was like, please, Lord, I hope he says for him. Because if he doesn't say it's for him, I don't know what the hell I'm about to say. Yeah, I did it for her. It was all her. But you have to do it for you. You have to know exactly who you are. And then what ends up happening, I believe, is that you're tested. There are moments of stress and you're tested. And ultimately, if you were a solid person prior to going into the situation, you can then rely on that foundation. But without the foundation, without knowing these things, then it's, that's when you sway. Right. That's when you turn. That's when you doubt. That's when you do all these things. So that's the reason why I think that preparation of you have to know your values. You have to have, self-love, right? This is not just a cliche. It's very important. Yeah. And then you have to also know that whenever you meet someone, they won't be your science project. Right? You have to meet them and you have to fall in love with the person that is in front of you. Yeah. Fair?
Yeah. Yes.
Fair. Yeah. All right. So now the second one, I'm sure this is one that you all have had a lot of experience with. The second thing that my wife and I said is, your friends are not relationship experts. Don't involve anyone in your relationship unless they can give you counsel. And remember, advice is when someone tells you what they think. Counsel is when someone helps you to think. Can I get amen?
Amen.
Amen. Pass the collection plate.
I have to say, I get stressed when friends ask me for relationship advice. Because, you know, the weight of what you say could really impact what happens. And ultimately, for me, I want them to be together, but I have my opinions. And I feel like I need to, you know, not say everything I feel, because I don't want the next decision point to be Nina said. And then Nina said, and then we're in the divorce court. No, Nina didn't say. It really stresses me out. Like as a friend, I want to be a friend to you, but I do not want to be an advisor to you about your relationship. I want to be freely expressing myself about how I feel, but that's not necessarily the pivotal place I want to be. And you know, I think I give great advice, though. I'm a good advisor, but come on, it's a weight to be that friend.
What about vice versa, though? Are your friends giving you advice?
I think if you ask for it, you have to be ready for it, and I think that goes back to the self-work. Because if you've worked on yourself and you're really seeking advice from friends and things like that, you have to be ready for how you're going to use it and what it means to use that advice in a relationship. You're not in a relationship by yourself. So when I solicit advice from me, I have to then filter it and then go forth with my decision point, not based on because Kwame told me I'm gonna do it. Then it allows me to blame Kwame, right? It allows Kwame to be in our journey. It invites everyone else also into the relationship in a way I don't think it's healthy. So yes, I will always go to my friends, but not with also everything. I don't think all friends can weigh everything in the same way. So I have a friend that sometimes comes to me for advice, and I always say, can you also ask your friend that's married? Because I just don't, I haven't navigated that world yet. And so the things that I'm saying are for me, someone that's not married. And so I always say, you know what, I've said what I think, but please go to, you know, that other person that you trust to ask her what she thinks because she's married, you know.
You're a good friend, Nina.
Yeah.
He's a good friend.
I don't want to be.
He's a good friend. He's a good friend. You know, Kwame, what do you think about this whole an expert? Like, what is an expert? Because this is one that I get, you know, for 10 years I'm getting this, like, are you an expert? Like, what accounts for someone who you will readily accept counsel from?
Yeah.
You in particular, right? Because when I think about you, I think about you as someone who doesn't suffer fools. Like I think of someone who is very astute and a heavy researcher of all things. Yeah. Right. So, what is your litmus test for what or who you're willing to accept counsel from?
Yeah. Wow. So the first thing that I really look for is someone who has like a high level of self-awareness that exhibits itself in like humility. They're not always trying to be the first to speak. Like they're listening, very much in that counsel role. Like they're like coming alongside you to like ask the question that triggers you to, you know, come up with the answer. Like that takes humility, that takes like ability, like respect for others. So that's the kind of the self-awareness piece. And then I also look for thoroughness, like someone who does the work of, you know, reading everything, or like if they're an operator, like they're actually building something that, you know, you see that they do that with integrity, and, you know, they've taken their wins, they've taken their losses, and you can see the growth like over the course of their trajectory. So that self-awareness, and then that thoroughness, I would say, are like the two kind of things I run people through. Before I respect them.
That's your gauntlet. Yes. That's the gauntlet. No, I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. Let's hit number 3. Number 3 is one where I just got to say, I've seen a lot of memes that say almost the opposite of this, but I just want to throw this out. Number 3, we said relationships are never 50-50. At times you give more, other times you take more. This is why communication and compromise are so important, right? And what's interesting to me about that is sometimes I'll see, we see it all the time, like relationships are 50-50, it's half and half. But what I've realized, and this is more so later into the relationship that I have with my wife, is that, man, life is hard, right? Health problems crop up, all types of issues, pop up, and there is no way humanly possible that you could be there 100% in the relationship. You just can't, right? And the reason why I say compromise here is because it's about a concession that you're making, and you're saying, I realize for the next 4 weeks, everything that's a priority to me is no longer a priority to me because you are now a priority to me. And that's sacrifices and concessions that I'm now going to have to make. And so I think it's just really important to understand that if you're going to enter a relationship with someone, that it's not a 50-50 thing. It's going to be a give and take. And you should acknowledge that you should be giving as much as possible. It's kind of like a bank account. You should be putting as much as possible into that account because there's going to be a day where you have to make a withdrawal. So that was a really important one to us.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
So how do you react to someone saying it's 100-0?
Yeah. You mean in a relationship?
Yeah, like each party approaching it like 100-0. Like I'm giving 100% and not expecting. You have expectations, but like you're not like banking on them.
So you're saying to me, I expect that you are going to come home at some point, but you don't have to come home by 9 o'clock. You can come home whatever. But break. What does that actually mean?
So, a church I used to go to in Atlanta, like they had a lot. It was a very interesting church because like it was a lot of young black people who were married, and like I had never seen anything like this before. And one of the things that the pastor like really talked about was like taking a 100-0 approach to your relationship, where like I'm here to serve you, I'm here to like be there for you, do the things that you need, but it's not like a tit for tat thing. Like I'm not like holding my behavior hostage based on like how you operate towards me. So it's like 100-0.
I think this is a brilliant question. And I don't want to ever disagree with a man of the Lord or a woman of the Lord, because I know lightning will strike me down right now. Yeah. But that was some bullshit. No, but that was, I don't see it in those exact terms. I think I understand what he's saying. He's saying, the same thing in networking. You're building relationships, right? So what you want to do is you want to give, and with the expectation that it may never be reciprocated, right? And you want to continue to add value. But man, that's a sad marriage, or that's a sad relationship if you have no expectation that you're going to get anything back. I mean, what about a nice back rub? What about, I think that it is healthy to have a level of expectations for your partner. A matter of fact, I would argue that it's probably to your benefit to have the highest level of expectation opposed to 0. So I wouldn't approach it as a 100-0. I'd approach it as a 100-1000 situation where your expectation is that, that they're going to over deliver, because ultimately, I always look at my marriage in particular as, it's like we are blocks of marble. Okay. We're blocks of marble, and we're being carved into the finest statue that we could ever fathom. But we're actually not the ones doing the carving. It's those experiences and those interactions that are etching themselves into the marble. And in order, but it's important to have an expectation that it'll be refined into this, phenomenal being. Because otherwise, why am I here?
Right.
Why am I here? Right. And so for me, I think that's a great question. I'm going to continue to think about it, but I think it's a 100-100 situation, not a 100-0.
Yeah, gotcha.
I also think it goes back to the two things you said, compromise and communication, right? So for communication, I think it's key to have expectations, right? Because that's what makes me happy, what makes me feel valued is in me having expectations of you to help, to be my partner. And therefore, I can be your partner to also keep you there as much as we can. And I think without proper communication, which is key, or not communicating your expectations at all, that's when things fall apart, right? I have all these expectations of you. You have expectations of me. We're not communicating properly. Nobody really knows what that 100% or 50% is. And then you have a breakdown. But then I think then comes the compromise, right? That sometimes you know my expectations. We communicate about them, and then we compromise when there's an imbalance, that you have something going on or I have something going on. I can't meet your expectations at a certain place, and so that's where the compromise is. But I think just knowing them, it's so key, and I feel like a lot people just sometimes don't talk. They don't know. They're just going. We're together, so we just go and we do things that we think make each other feel happy, and just don't know that what it really is.
Yeah. I think that's gospel. The number one reason for divorce, everyone says, is finance, right?
Yeah.
But it's technically not.
Yeah.
It's miscommunication over finance.
Yeah.
So to your point, like it's what it is, communication. All right, I love it. Can I just say, just side note, I love this format, man. I'm with this, man.
This is dope.
I mean, I think this is when you're in something, you know how special it is. Like, this is a special moment. Somebody take a photo of this, please. Jared's like, I've already taken 5 photos of this thing. All right, let's keep it moving. Number 4. This is real simple. Call, show up, and deliver what and when you say you will. Inconsistency destroys trust, and trust is the foundation of your relationship.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we need to say?
No.
Nothing. All right. Number 5. This was hard for me to learn. Very hard. Listening to your partner's problems without passing judgment is one of the kindest things you can do. I mean, this was it, because quite honest, I mean, to your point of humility, your litmus test, right? I would always listen in to, I shouldn't even say listen. I would be hearing my wife, right? Hearing what she's saying. And quite honestly, and Jill, please, I know what you're going to say when you listen to this, but I would hear, wah, 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 wah. And my only thinking at that point was, well, how am I going to respond to this? So I'm not listening to her, I'm hearing her. But when you're listening, you've released ego. Yeah. You say to yourself, okay, I'm going to take in everything that this person is saying, and I'm going to respond based on everything I've heard them say. Also, we know that we say more than with our body than our words, so I'm going to take in the full context. And so when you listen, but then on top, so you're listening, active listening, but then on top of it, I'm not going to pass judgment, right? What you say, I'm not going to hold that against you. It's one of the kindest things that we could do.
Yeah, I completely agree. And there's a great book that really helped crystallize this for me. It's called The Courage to be Disliked.
Uh-oh. I don't know this. Tell me, all right, who? The Courage to be Disliked.
And just like movies, I have, don't ask me like who wrote the book.
The name is fine.
Yeah, but it basically like talks about.
Oh my goodness! Somebody say that real quick. Just Google it.
It's really all about kind of like staying in your lane, and like we have responsibilities like as individuals, but that moment where you step over into kind of placing judgment on another person, that's you like stepping into their lane.
Yeah,
and that's not your job.
It's not your job. Absolutely. And that's what we're doing all day long. I'm going to have to check out that book, The Courage to be Disliked.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Thank you. Number 6, we've already talked about this. We know this is Nina's favorite because she's the arm wrest champion. If you don't hold to your boundaries, you will turn even the best intentioned partner into a bully. Now, let me ask you this, Nina, since you're the arm wrest champion, since we talked about this, right, with the airline. I had a very good friend of mine who is a nationally recognized anchor. And she messaged me when I posted this, and she said, Paul, I love this list, but I don't agree with this number 6 here. You when you meet that person, they're either inherently a bully or they're not. So Nina, I want you to tell me, do you agree with her? Right? Or do you agree with me?
I agree with you.
All right, you can stay. You can stay.
Good. Now let me tell you the truth. So yeah, it's about knowing, one, you having empathy and knowing that the other person has empathy. I think people come as they are to something, but like you said, they've done some self-work. And to bridge bringing two different people together, there has to be some level of empathy, yet not losing yourself just because I found you, found me, and we're in love. Like, everything we're talking about is about that work that then it entails to keep things on par, right?
Right.
And not losing yourself, to me, is so key. I've seen so many people lose themselves in relationships, and because who they were is formulated in what boundaries you have, right? And it goes back to your values. And as you come together with someone else, shifting that so much that you are no longer who you believe yourself to be, I think is the worst thing that could ever happen, because it's based on someone else. It's not truly based on your own journey. And I think if your journey leads you to, have new boundaries for yourself and things like that, you can communicate that. You can grow in the relationship. You can figure out where it goes next. But I think changing just because you want to be held together, I think that leads to failure ultimately.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Kwame, you agree with that?
I bear witness to that.
There you go.
Yeah. Like, I found myself in a situation where, I became the bully, and I had no idea. Like,
Oh, wow. You were the bully.
I was the bully.
I would've really?
It
I
blew
can't
my
imagine.
mind.
I can't imagine. When you
Yeah.
thought he would have been the one being bullied?
Exactly.
So, like, in my former partner, like, she is one of the strongest women I know, hands down. That like, the president of the college we went to, like, 8 out of her hand. Like, she tells people what to do, they listen, and they succeed because of that. But somehow in the relationship, like, she, like, didn't hold to her boundaries, and here I am thinking I'm being a cheerleader for her, like, oh yeah, you could be CEO of a company. Well, if she doesn't want to be CEO, like,
Right.
but I'm like, yeah, you should do this, you should do that, like, you're amazing, blah blah blah. End of the day, she's like, I don't know who I am.
Right.
Like, I've let you, like, push me to do all these things that, like, I didn't want to do, and I felt horrible.
Yeah.
Because, like, that wasn't what I was trying to do, but that's what happened.
Wow. Is that, I mean, and tell me if we're going too deep on this, do you think that's one of the reasons why the relationship didn't work?
Absolutely.
Okay. Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. All right. So we know we all need to be arm wrest champions, basically.
Yes.
All right. So number 7, there's no such thing as a stagnant relationship. It's either growing or dying. There's no in between.
Explain.
Aha. All right. So we thought long and hard about this one, right? And we thought that in the relationship that we've had over 18 years, it's either been dying or it's been growing. So at the times where we thought we were just coasting, where it was, everything is good, we're within our comfort zone, nothing is rocky, everything feels good, but we're not challenging ourselves, we thought we're stagnant, we're okay. But in hindsight, when we look back, we say, wow, during that time, we were not growing, we were dying. Why? And this leads into what I heavily believe with regard to just kind of personal development and business, but if you're not investing in yourself today, it means that you're losing dividends tomorrow. I feel it's the same way with the relationship. If you're not continuing to figure out how you're going to grow together, right, and then experimenting and growing, then you deceive yourself. You think, okay, we're okay, but in essence, you're dying. That's the thought. And then, you know, to get biological about it, we started looking at plants and started looking at, you know, animals, looking at human beings, and ultimately, we are either growing or we're dying. There's never a point where we are completely at a point of standstill or stagnation. It's either it's binary. That's the thought.
This one is a new one for me. I've never thought about it that way. And mostly because I think as you're talking, I'm realizing that so often you're told by society that you need a stable relationship. And you envision stable relationship to be, you work till you're coasting. Like, you're work till, like, I know you know me, we're good, right? And so to hear this, I'm just kind of like, wow, like, maybe that's not it. That if you're here, it gets stale. That you think you know each other so much that you're not doing more work, and then you've accepted everything. So I'm really like, wow, like that one is an eye opener.
I love that one too. I played linebacker in college football, and our defensive coordinator every day was like, "Yeah, you either got better or you got worse."
There you go.
I guess though I have a question about, because in football, like, we look at tape every day, you know, you can tell, like, everybody gets graded, so you can see, you know, did you get better, did you get worse?
Right.
So in a relationship, like, what is that, like, how do you tangibly check to make sure you're getting better every day?
Yeah, you know, that man, that's making me think. Like, how do I know I got better yesterday? Here's how I think I knew. I have, and this is gonna sound really corny, but I woke up and I got a kiss. You know, I woke up and my wife said, "Good morning." Because I tell you, when I was coming in at 2 a.m. and I woke up, I was getting, I would say, hello, is anybody here? And she was gone. Like, so, you know, so you think of those small, you know, things. But then on top of it, I know that I feel that the statue's being carved. I feel good. I feel strong in the relationship. I would say also that more trust is extended. Like, I'll give you, like, this is all the way real. All right. I am terrible with time. There's like CP time, and then there's Paul time. So it's like I'm terrible with time. Like, Seljuk always, I'm late everywhere. I was late today. Like, I'm late all the time. It's just bad. I've got to work on this, right? I know I need to work on this. My wife knows that I'm terrible with time. Now, my wife has a hair appointment today. She was like, "All right, Paul, I know you're going to do your podcast thing, but you better be back at precisely this time because I need to go get my hair done." Now, 5 years ago, you know what she would have done? She would have lied to me about the time. She would have moved it up an hour. She would have, like, but now there's trust. Now she just says it once, not 15 times, "Paul, right? Be back at this time or I'll kill you." Like, it's real simple.
Real calm.
It's real calm. That's love. That's love. Because back in the day, she would have said, "No, it's not 3:15. It's 2:15." So then also she would have been texting me all the time. But I won't get a text, right? So it seems simple, small, but that's love. Like, those are the small little elements that know, okay, we're growing as a couple. Your wife doesn't want to kill you. That's it. That's it. Okay. Number 8. The fact that you know you're not perfect isn't an excuse to keep making the same mistakes. This is similar to the no new mistakes mantra, right?
Yeah.
I love it.
I totally agree.
Yeah. All right. It's like nothing else to be said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Number 9. Oh no, we're coming down to the end. Although 10 is my favorite, by the way. And I know you'll have a lot to say about 10. Number 9 is we typically show love in different ways. Learn your partner's love language and remind them often through it. So here's my test right now. Break down. Someone tell me. Collectively, work as a team,
all
okay?
the love
As a
languages.
team. What are all 5 love languages?
Words of affirmation, gifts,
Yep. Quality time.
quality time,
Words of did you already say words of affirmation?
affirmation. What is the other one?
Uh-oh, there are 2 more.
No, we got this. We got this.
Come on, bring it home for Ghana.
We did quality time,
Quality time. Words of affirmation.
gifts.
And you said gifts. Yes.
Clearly, we know.
They look at each other like,
touch.
There you
right?
go.
Physical
Yeah,
touch.
physical
there you go. All right, there you go. And
And
then one more. And surprisingly, I would say this last one that you haven't said,
Yeah.
I think is more along the lines of your love language. I think this would be
Really?
one of your love languages.
Which
yeah.
one is that one? Because I totally don't remember it.
Acts of
Service.
service. There we go. There we go. All right. Right. So we have gifts,
Yeah.
physical touch, words of affirmation, acts of service, and what did I miss?
Quality time.
Quality time.
Quality
Yeah,
time.
quality time.
Yeah.
So now, I will say that I honestly, when who is it? Who wrote this book? I think it's maybe is it John Gray or maybe? No, not John Gray. Who wrote 5 Love Languages? Subject
Another book.
Yeah, it's in my.
Is-
It's in my-
is-
it's
is
in
looking
my
up right
Audible.
now.
It's on my
Yeah.
Audible.
A title book.
Yeah. this Gary Chapman. There you go. Dr. Gary Chapman. Thank you. Game changer for me. Game changer because my wife grew up, her parents showered her with gifts. I mean, it's Tuesday, you get a Bentley. Like that was her thing. Like that was what she got. My parents, like, you know, on the Jamaican side, I'm like, what? You're not getting any gifts.
Okay.
We're not touching you. You get no words of affirmation because we're just cursing you out, right? Right? But we may do something for you. We'll get throw an act of service in there for you, right? I'm sorry, but that's what it was, right? So I would look at her and say, oh, she's spoiled. She's spoiled. So my whole mission was, I'm going to break her. I'm going to break her from this gift thing.
Wow.
I'm not, oh, it's her birthday? Oh, she's not getting anything for her birthday.
Dang, Paul was a savage.
I'm serious. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm going to do something for her.
Acts of service.
I'm going to train her.
Wow.
And Lord, I was wrong. It did not go down well. When it was like, it's Christmas and you have no gifts under the tree.
Wow. I can't even like fathom that. Wow.
This is serious. This is serious.
Yeah.
This is serious. But I realized, then I read the book and I was like, okay, hold on for a second. This is how she receives love. So I flipped it up and man, she gives gifts all the time right
Yeah.
now. So love language, very important. Would you all, do you know your love language?
Yeah, I totally agree. And one thing that based on just even the stories, I always tell my friends that it's important to know sort of, you know, your love language, but it's also important to know how you like to give love.
Yes.
Like, meaning what someone likes to receive. But then I always ask you, like, how do you give? Because I think when those two things are different, you need to figure out how you're going to shift that. Because I might be a gifts person, right? Meaning I like to give gifts. And you're an acts of service person. And it's because it makes me feel good that I'm giving you a gift.
Yes.
That I'm veering from knowing that you love, you know, acts of service. I'm veering from that because I know it makes me feel good. And so I always say, like, yeah, know his love language, but also know what you like to give, what makes you feel good, so that you can work yourself, you know, make that balance so that it doesn't mean anything to him that you gave him anything, but you feel so good, like,
Right.
you know, so yeah, so I totally agree with it. My love language is the one that I like to give is acts of service.
There you go.
I love to receive words of affirmation. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you've been phenomenal, by the way.
Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah, I too like to give acts of service, and so you were spot on there, I think. And words of affirmation is huge for me, and quality time is pretty big. For
It's
me
pretty
as
big.
well.
There you go. See, you know it. It's very important. Very important. All right, guys, we're down to the last, and I will say this is my favorite, and I'm just going to say it, and then I just want your commentary on this. Okay, you ready? Who wants up first on this one?
Kwame, he
Go-
told me he wanted the last. You got the last? You told me you wanted.
All right. Now, I need you to follow up on this, of course. All right. So, number 10, and remember, this is my wife wrote this. Okay. She said, "Keep the fights clean and the sex dirty."
Yes.
So,
Yes.
what do you have to say about that, young man?
I mean, I love this. This is foundational for me. Like, no, like real talk, because I mean they affect one another. So like you know, my partner and I talked about, okay, what's our plan when we get in fights? Like, how are we going to get back to a good place? And I think that plus us both having like a level of respect and and you know, willingness to communicate on how we're going to navigate disagreements. I think that's helped us to. We haven't really fought, but you know, when we have those disagreements, to navigate them well, and yeah, I think that kind of thing impacts how you're able to connect, sexually as well. So.
Yes. All right. Are you expanding on the sexually or no? No expansion?
I mean,
I need a Did you hear that? No expansion?
So
Did anybody get that? Come on, I'm trying my best.
That was good. I mean, I'm a Scorpio, so like I'm very sexual. Like, I don't know what you want me to say. Dirty sex sounds good to me.
But all right, so let me ask this. I've got to ask this. All right, because I'm hosting this show in the UK, co-hosting this show. I'm sorry, Anna and Tom, co-hosting this show in the UK called Celebs Go Dating. And what's interesting to me about this show is that we have celebs that come on the show, and you think that these are mostly 20-something, as vibrant as you can imagine. Having as much sex as you can imagine, and the guys come in like, man, we're savages on the scene, right? And the women actually are not. They're like, look, we get it in just as much as they, actually more than those guys, right?
Yeah.
But what I've noticed is that I believe, this is something I fully believe, is that I think that pleasure within sex is on the decrease.
Really?
I think so. I think so. Now, let's go to Nina.
Yeah.
Now, tell me this. Well, first, what do you think about this whole keep the fights clean and the sex dirty? Like, it's fun, but yet, Kwame's saying it's gospel, though.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think if I think about the reverse of that, it makes perfect sense, because if the fights are dirty, there's, I think, no sex. And what I mean by dirty fights is, name calling, using, words that really, tear you apart and things like that, where it's like, I don't even want to be next to you.
Yeah.
And so just that the impact of that even being reversed to me is enough to say, look, if you're and when you said we don't even fight, we disagree, that's to me, that's a clean fight. That is what a clean fight is, that you don't feel like you've put everything into a battle with someone, and you can leave and be as passionate with each other as if it wasn't the fight that broke anything. That you can be strengthened by an argument. Actually, you can get to a realization that we're in deeper connection. And so when you were even talking about how sex is on the decline, or I think maybe people aren't really connecting, because a good disagreement could really come to a revelation about connection.
There you go.
And I think when it's like tears in your eyes every day, you're like, oh, we are here. We get each other now.
Yeah.
And I think that leads to me passionate sex, like really emotional, just a better connection with someone than just just moving forward just because you have to, just because you're married.
Yes, yes, absolutely. You nailed it in terms of my opinion, at least, on what equates to great sex or a high, pleasure in sex. But let me go to the fights, and then I'm gonna come back with the sex, because I got to get in and got to talk about sex. The fights. I think it's Gottman. Could you run a search on Gottman and resentment? Gotto. Gott, maybe MON. But it. Kwame's like, I'm on it. He's like, I'm already on it. But it was, I believe it was research that he did that showed that he believed that he could predict with 99% accuracy. Yes, or maybe not the Gottman, but maybe add resentment in there too, because he believes, if this is him, that with the 99% accuracy, he could determine if a couple would divorce during couples therapy, and the one cue was resentment. Cues of resentment, and I thought that was fascinating when I read it. I don't know. Now we have no idea who said this. But so what I started doing is I started observing that at Thanksgiving, when I saw family together, for real. When I would be out, at social, settings and see, and I would say 99%, if not 100%, when you saw one or both of the couple present resentment, they were doomed, right? So if you two were together, and it was just like, Kwame was just like, you said something, Nina, and Kwame was like,
yeah,
It's over.
It's done.
Yeah,
It's done,
yeah.
right? And what I thought to be so fascinating about that is it shows that you have to be able to communicate in a fair way, or you will not be able to entertain, engage, and sustain a relationship with anybody.
Yeah.
Not just romantic. I'm talking about business, social, etc. So being able to fight fair is incredibly important, the most important piece of the relationship. And then that speaks to everything else in your relationship, including the sex. When I was 20, we got William here, one of the partners here at Switch and Board, right? Well, you were 22, right? I am. 22.
Wow.
Now watch this. Can we put a mic on William real quick? Can William just get on the mic? All right, just 1 second. I've got one question for you. I want to put you on the spot. Just 1 second. This is a very you can jump right here on the mic.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, look.
I'm gonna sit down.
All right. This is one question, and I want you to answer this with all authenticity, right? And I know you will. All right. You ready?
I am.
How strong is your sex game, William? Scale from 0 to 10, with 10 being elite.
So honestly, I've been kind of thinking about this.
Oh my God. Oh no. He started with honestly, I started thinking about this.
I really enjoyed what you two had to say. I feel like in one sense, the sex game is its own lot. Like I feel like the women are happy, but I feel like it's just aggressive. It's just aggression. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like I don't know another way to put it, and so I'm trying to figure out like, because I'm young, I'm 22. Like, what's the difference between like fucking and like making love? You know what I'm saying?
There you go. You know what? I'm gonna say this, man. Every time I've asked you a question, you never answer like a 22-year-old.
Because
really,
really like insightful. Yeah.
isn't it? How many 22-year-olds can you say, how's your sex game? Well, honestly, I've been thinking about that. Nobody. And then he gave us an analytical answer.
That's
Right.
philosophy.
So I wanted to ask you that because I was thinking you would answer like a 22-year-old, which you didn't, which is 22-year-old is like, oh man, it's a 10.
Yeah.
It's good. If you were to ask me, my 22-year-old self, I would have said, oh, I'm a beast. Like, oh my God, there's like nothing compares. Like, what are you talking about? But I learned now, over decades, I learned, I was miserable. My God, I feel terrible for whoever I was with when I was 22 because of what you just said. It's all about me. It's all aggressive. It's all in and out, literally. And it is, and the reason for that, quite honestly, and what changed the game, this is going to sound very unromantic, but I promise this changed the game. Communication. Strong communication. Strong communication is your lifeline to everything. And what I realized is that once I could listen and understand all the things that my wife wants and needs, and then I deliver on that, which takes listening, humility, etc., then all of a sudden, everything is good for her. And when everything's good for her, it becomes great for you. That's the biggest smile I've seen William have. But quite honestly, that is exactly what happened. It's just about listening, right? And it's about understanding. And so for me, it's funny, man, because I remember people literally telling me, like, man, you know, you get older and it's just terrible. Like, everything, your body falls apart, the sex, like, it's terrible. You're not even interested. I promise you, I'm legitimately having more sex in my life than ever before. Ever before. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
So I'm just like, I can't wait to get there.
Fire too.
Like, I'm excited.
It's good, and it changes everything.
Yeah.
It's really good, but it's all for the communication. Fair?
Yeah.
Fair. And we should do a whole sex podcast, I think.
That would be dope.
But that's it. That's it, man. I mean, this is it. This is it. Those were the 10 lessons. Closing thoughts. Wait, you're still here. Closing thoughts. Kwame, Nina, William. Closing thoughts.
I mean, I've been on this journey the past year and a half of like preparing myself for marriage. So like this is like amazing for me just to, because I mean, while therapy has been part of it, like I haven't really like had a lot of conversations with groups and whatnot on this. So this is food for me. This is good.
There you go. Can I just say this one thing too? Is unfortunately there's this thing called the feedback loop, right? Where when you talk, it goes into a sphere, right? Goes into a group of people. They chop it up, and then they give you opinion, and then you get that opinion, and it makes you sharper, makes your thoughts and ideas sharper. And then you put your thoughts and ideas back into the group in the feedback loop, and then it comes back and it keeps going back and forth, and that's how you elevate your ideas.
Yeah.
When it comes to relationships, this is around the world. I've seen this in West Africa. I've seen this in the UK. This is damn sure happening in the Caribbean. And, of course, here in the U.S. is men. And then I would even go further to say men of color don't have a feedback loop when it comes to relationships.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
So it's like, where Nina said just.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But so where could you have done this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is why I think this is so important.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Even just everything you said resonated with me, and I feel like I have friends, like there's so many examples of when I've seen things work because of that, or things fail because there was lacking in one of those, in each one of those points. I think being a woman, I've had conversations with my girls all the time about, making ourselves better. Or, helping a man get better, even that. But then it always comes down to who are the men talking to?
Yeah.
Because we can't tell them how to get better. They need to experience and grow within themselves. And it always comes back to that, always. And I think this conversation with also women involved is not just you talking. I think we all need to talk to each other.
Absolutely.
Is key. And I think us reacting to it, hearing your perspectives on it, I'm like, oh, I didn't think of it like that, or that's not how I'm coming from it, because I'm bringing all my girl stories to the table, and my experiences to the table, and I don't get the opportunity to talk to a lot of men about those things. So just having conversations with different people different genders, different experiences. I think I'm taking away so much to build on my own, on what I thought and believed and how I could, be in a better relationship, a better marriage. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Love
Awesome.
it. Love it. William, take us on out.
I mean, it's just been a pleasure to observe the conversation between you all. I thought what was unique about it is like it all revolved around like exchanges and point of view. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of the relationships I observed in college, it was always like on just like material things that people kind of need, like status and like my own like synthetic identity. Like I had, it's been more like how do I connect to your point of view? How do we compromise? How do I help it grow? And that's it. Yeah, that's what y'all talking about. So I feel really humbled to be able to listen.
There you go.
That's
Well,
awesome.
man, thank you. I mean, William, thank you for jumping in, giving us that response, which was, man, blew my mind. So thank you. Kwame, man, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
It's been awesome.
Nina, thank you. I know you
Thank
both like words of
you.
affirmation, so you guys are both great.
Yes.
Now I'm gonna go do something for you. Give you some extra service.
Well, I have to serve you. That's what.
Yeah. I mean, just being here for real. This was incredible. This was really special. And for everybody listening, that's the whole idea behind this Better with Paul series, conversations so that you can live a better life. So thank you.
Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah.